as you play more matches, you are no doubt playing different opponents. Therefore, you need different tactics. That means you need to find a way to beat your opponents. So here we're going to give you 3 different tactics that you can employ, and the third one is a little bit controversial, but I think it's a really important thing to have in your arsenal. So the first tactic, and this is something that we recommend to players when they start their matches, is to start slow in terms of the ball they're hitting and make one more ball than the opponent. And this is just really focusing on consistency. So don't start your matches hitting fast and trying to go for winners. Start slow, play lots of balls and get yourself into a rhythm into that match, and then you can always get more aggressive as the match goes on. This is a great tactic if you are playing a game that you actually feel like you go 3-love down or 4-1 down, or you're getting into a situation in that match where it's not going your way. This is another tactic you can implement to just slow things down and try and change the momentum, because things in paddle can happen so fast. You need to find a way of slowing that game down. The second tactic is a little bit more around the direction of your shot. If you're getting into a game and you're not quite sure where you should be aiming, then the tactic is to play the ball down the middle. Now this works if you're at the front of the court and you want to hit your volley down the middle here, forcing your opponents towards the center here in the back glass, and then volley into the open space. So as a tactic, you and your partner can employ, you say to yourselves, right, I'm gonna hit this first volley down the middle, or if we get stuck in a point, I'm gonna bandeja or volley down the middle. And whoever picks that up from the opponents, I'm going to now try and hit that next ball into the open space. And this is just basically a tactic to create space on the court, because sometimes you can get so wrapped up in the score and what's happening and who's playing well and what you're doing, and often players focus on themselves instead of thinking, how can I create space like a game of chess on that side of the court and then hit into that space. So simplify the tactic. Tactic number 2 is play your volley or bandeja down that middle and then hit the next ball into that open space, and keep it nice and simple. Tactics is such a massive part of the game that's exactly why on our platform we have 3 courses dedicated to tactics. We have beginner, intermediate, advanced. Beginner, really you're focusing on court position, where you need to be, how to block those angles, and if you get your court position right, then often you can play with players that are better than you. Intermediate level, we focus on the shot selection, where you should be hitting in terms of the direction, and then in the advanced we look more about the height of your shot, the speed of your shot, how to put your opponents under pressure. So if you want to improve the tactics in your game, head to thepadelschool.com. You've got a 7-day free trial. You can sign up and you can immediately check out our tactics courses. The third tactic is focusing on a player to hit to. Now, this is a little bit controversial because in recreational games, players say it's not fair or it's unsportsmanlike to hit only to one player and not to the other, and it can create a little bit of a dispute during the social games. It is something that is used a lot, particularly at that intermediate advanced level, but I'm actually suggesting to do this as a point by point and focus. So for example, you serve to one side and then aim to that side, so you're not changing direction all the time. You're going into that side until you get an easy ball, and then be aggressive to the other person, and then maybe on the next point you might reverse it and go to the other side. But the purpose of this is to simplify the direction of your shot and keep it that you're focusing on the player at the other end. So this is something you need to do with your partner, and you might say, right, this game, let's focus a little bit more on this player and we're going to play the aggressive balls to the other player. So you hit your 90% of your shots to that player and then 10% to the other. And I'm saying a good tactic is to make sure that you do it to both players. I'm not saying don't let one player hit the ball for a set, because that can be frustrating, particularly at a kind of social level. So this third tactic is focused play on a player and then attack to the other player. So the question that you're probably thinking now is, how do you know which tactic to employ? You basically want to find a tactic that your opponents are uncomfortable with. So if, for example, they are hard hitters and they're hitting the ball hard, you want to find a way of slowing them down. Or if they aren't very mobile and they don't move very well, you've got to find a way of playing into the space and making them move. Or if they don't like overheads or it's difficult conditions to hit overheads, then you would use your lob more often, for example. But that requires you to analyze the game. So what I'm suggesting is start with tactic number 1, make lots of balls, hit lots of lobs, see what they're doing, analyze your opponents for strengths and weaknesses, and then start putting into practice a tactic. And if you try it for a series of points. Don't just do it for 1 point and then you lose the point, you think never again. Do it for a series of points and work out if it works, then you're going to do it more. And if after those points you feel like it wasn't successful, then you try and change your tactic. And if you watch the pros, you will see that during the matches, they are constantly changing their plans and changing their tactics because of their opponents as well. So you can start implementing that in your matches. So let us know down in the comments what is your most successful tactic. And I know a lot of discussion happens around the fridge, and we mentioned it earlier. The fridge is when, if I'm being fridged, the ball is being hit to my partner, and I'm going to put a video up here on how to play against the fridge. If someone is doing that to you, how you as a pair can get out of that. And then down here, I'm going to put a link for thepadelschool.com. We also have it on an app, so you can actually take your videos of tactics to the court. And I'm not recommending this, but in a match, you can always have a look through those videos and see which tactics you want to employ.